We have to realize time is the single most precious resource that we have. We only have a finite amount. We can't buy more. There's literally nothing out there that we can exchange to get more time. So deciding what to allocate your time to and using it wisely should be our top priority. Yet it's incredible how sometimes we live our lives as if our time were essentially worth zero. We too often let external factors and other people completely determine how we spend our time. It's like taking the passenger seat in the ride of your life. Okay, but how do we get back in control? I'll get there in a second, but before doing so, it's important to understand why we get to value our time so little. It all begins when we are kids. We all start off by always having someone telling us what to do. Then we strenuously fight for freedom to do whatever we want, only to end up actually doing whatever that cool friend of ours happens to be doing, regardless of whether we really enjoy it or not. And for some, what happened with that friend goes on happening with our colleagues, our spouse, our partners. Some never get to really decide for themselves. Sometimes we even realize that we are just following others, maybe because essentially we have no clue on what to do or because we don't want to feel the burden of making a choice. So we pick up the easiest option, which is to delegate the decision to others. Nobody in their right mind would let others decide on their most precious asset. Yet, that's what we do. Especially during our younger years, we feel like we have an infinite amount of time in front of us. We feel like we can always decide what to do tomorrow and change our mind the day after. That feeling ends up being a very comfortable trap we build for ourselves. That feeling works against us. It prevents us from living our lives in full. It makes us live our lives waiting for a decision we might never make. We have to realize we cannot possibly do everything we would like to do. There simply isn't enough time. We have to make choices in our lives and accept that some things will be inevitably left out. Okay, hold on, wait. I think this video has taken too much of a melancholy, gloomy turn. So let's fix that. We should not get saddened by the fact that we don't get to live forever and have enough time to do everything that might eventually come to our minds. Having limited time is not only absolutely okay, that's actually what makes our lives special and worth living. It makes our decisions meaningful. It makes them count. That's what gives us the opportunity to define what our priorities are. That's precisely why we should be sure we are in the driver's seat. And don't get stressed out just yet. If we are lucky enough to be blessed with decent health, we've got more than enough time to fill our lives with meaningful experiences. Hey, I'll tell you a secret. We all get 24 hours a day. Yeah, nobody really gets an advantage here, so it all depends on how we use our time. But let's get more practical now. Let's talk about 5 concrete ways to improve your time management. Number 1. Make a list of your top 5 priorities. Think big here. This is foundational. This is not your grocery list. This is not your to-do list at work. I'm talking about existential goals here. I'm talking about life mission. I'm talking about the pillars on which your existence will sit. I'm talking about stuff like self-realization, family, children, health, relationships, career, and so on. It's much easier to waste time if you don't have a clear objective. So pick up your top 5. Make sure you define an order. Your number 1 priority is more important than the 5th element in the list. Just to give you an example, my number 1 item in the list is my personal health, followed very closely by my family. The order and the items in the list might change over the course of your life, but it doesn't matter. Define what are your priorities right now. Having a list that you later change is far better than having no list at all. So don't overthink it. Just do it now. This list will define your vision, your roadmap towards a more meaningful existence. Use these as a compass when you're feeling lost. Allocate your time based on those priorities. If you find yourself spending a lot of time on something that is not in this list, it's a sign that you should change that. Number 2, stop trying making others happy. Making others happy is not your job. Rather focus on being happy yourself to begin with. If you are happy, others will ask you how you became so happy, and we want to learn from you. Number 3, it's okay to say no. If you think your time will not be allocated properly, that means it's not spent on your top priorities. Learn to say no. Of course, this is not always possible or recommendable. There are exceptions, but when you really feel you'd be wasting your time, don't be shy, just say no thanks. If people really care about you, they'll understand. Remember, your job is not making everybody happy all the time. Number 4, keep a backlog. Keep a list of things you'd like to be working on next. So whenever you have free time, you always know what to do next. If you don't keep a list, whenever you have free time, you'd be forced to improvise. That's when the risk of ending up doing irrelevant stuff increases dramatically. Number 5, delegate. Time can buy money, but not vice versa. So if you can delegate stuff you don't enjoy, just do it. Even if it costs you money, remember, your time is not free. If you did it on your own, you'd still be paying it because you couldn't be doing something else. So if you can afford it and you think your time allocated somewhere else would be more beneficial financially or emotionally, just pay somebody else and delegate. Okay, we've talked about 5 ways to improve your time management, but let me stress one important point. I guess I'll call it a bonus tip, even though I think this is probably the most important one. Always keep the right balance. Don't overstress with productivity. Allocating your time properly, keeping focused on your priorities, being sure time doesn't get wasted is very important. Also, having a sense of urgency is a good thing, but it should not consume you, deplete your energy, or give you anxiety. As long as you're doing what you really want to be doing, that's never a waste of time. If what you're doing is meaningful to you, regardless of the time you spend on it, that's not wasted time. Your priorities are yours and yours are only. Again, you should be happy, not others. Okay, one last thing, I guess it's bonus tip number 2. Save some time to do nothing. Yes, seriously, don't forget to save some time to do nothing. Yes, absolutely nothing. But make sure it's time boxed. Say, I don't know, 1 hour a week. Leave some space for your mind to wander freely. It helps brain refocus and re-energize. Wow, okay, that was a long one. I hope I was able to convince you about how precious our time is and how often we end up wasting it doing meaningless stuff or trying pleasing others. If you reached this far and will end up applying any of the tips I suggested, please let me know. I get a deep sense of pleasure whenever I find that through my videos I was able to help someone. It repays of all the effort I put into it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.